In the previous part, we talked about 8 of the most used image formats, explained the important and unique features of each one, talked about what lossy and lossless are, and what the difference is between each format and the others. So since you might hear some terms and concepts in this video that could be a bit confusing and even scary at times, you definitely need to first watch part 1 carefully and then come back and continue this video from here. In 1996, when the PNG development team introduced it, their goal was to have a format for single and static images without animation support. That's why after introducing PNG, they started creating a new format with the features and capabilities of PNG, but this time for moving and animated images, which was called MNG. MNG stands for Multiple Image Network Graphics and was introduced about 5 years after PNG in 2001. It was actually considered a more advanced replacement for GIF and had 3 superior features compared to it: higher color depth, support for lossy and lossless compression, and more advanced animation. To understand how much color depth in the MNG format improved compared to GIF, first let me explain color depth to you in a very simple way. In the previous part, if you remember, I said that each pixel can have its own specific color, and when a large number of color pixels are placed next to each other, an image is created. But now the question is, how many colors can each pixel have? The answer to this question is the color depth of the image. For example, if we have an image with a color depth of 1 bit, each pixel can only have 2 colors because each bit has 2 states, either 0 or 1. If you still don't know what a bit is in 2026, I suggest you first watch this video. Anyway, if we increase the color depth to 8 bits, we get 256 different colors for each pixel, which is exactly the color depth that a GIF file has. By increasing the color depth and bringing it to 24 bits per pixel, we reach the huge number of 16.7 million colors. 16.7 million colors for each pixel. When there are so many colors, our eyes can hardly tell the difference between similar colors, but in an 8-bit image format, this color difference is clearly visible, especially in areas where there are shadows or gradients. We call this phenomenon color banding. The lower the color depth, the more clearly color banding is seen, and the higher the color depth, the harder it becomes to see the color banding phenomenon. For example, JPEG is a format with a maximum color depth of 24 bits, and GIF is a format with an 8-bit color depth. But this is not the end of the story. Nowadays, we have formats with color depths higher than 24 bits, like 32, 48, and even 64 bits, which are usually used to display colors and also very deep and precise transparencies. For example, we said that JPEG is a 24-bit format, meaning 8 bits for each of the R, G, and B channels. But in PNG, the color depth can also be 32 bits, in which case 24 bits are used for the color channels and 8 bits for the transparency channel. Of course, PNG can support color depth up to 64 bits in RGBA mode. And since the structure of PNG and MNG are similar, you should now understand the difference between a GIF and a MNG in terms of color depth. The next difference between these two formats is in their compression method. GIF is a format with lossless compression, while MNG can be both lossless and lossy. In fact, each frame of it can have its own specific compression method. The third and most important difference between MNG and GIF is their animation structure. In GIF, as you know, each frame is a separate image. But in MNG, in addition to this mode, there are also more modern and, of course, more complex modes. For example, an MNG file can store only the changes between 2 frames, which is called Delta PNG mode. In this mode, only the changes of a frame compared to the initial frame are stored and then applied to the initial frame during playback. Another mode is called Sprite mode, in which you can store several objects and then use them in each frame. Of course, these advanced features have made the final file structure more complex and increased the time it takes for software and browsers to encode and decode it. That's why this format never became widespread or even famous, and today almost none of us have ever even seen it or used it. After MNG almost failed due to its complex structure, 2 people from the Mozilla team, yes, the Mozilla that created Firefox, decided to make a format similar to MNG, but with less complexity and suitable for browsers. This decision of theirs led to the creation of the APNG, or Animated PNG format. An APNG file is actually a regular PNG file with some extra information. A regular PNG file is made up of several different chunks, each of which contains vital information for displaying a single image. In the APNG format, in addition to the chunks present in PNG, we also have a number of extra chunks, which include the animation frames, their playback timing, the way they are displayed, and some other information essential for playing the animation. Because of this kind of structure, if a software that doesn't recognize APNG opens the file, it ignores those unknown chunks related to the APNG file and only displays the first frame as a static PNG image. This wonderful feature is called backward compatibility. APNG, exactly like MNG and PNG, fully supports the alpha channel and can support color depth up to 64-bit. The way animation is displayed in an APNG file is more advanced and, of course, a bit more complex compared to GIF, but the structure of it is much simpler than MNG, and for this reason, today, almost all browsers and even applications like Discord and iMessage support it. HEIF is actually something like JFIF, but with a much more advanced and newer structure. It's a container with some extra information for other image formats. This container supports various image compression codecs, including HEVC, AV1, AVC, and other codecs. In short, the HEIF container stores information like the type of camera, the date the photo was taken, lens information, and a bunch of useful and sometimes essential information inside itself, which is called metadata, but that's not the whole story. The HEIF container also holds other advanced information such as the main image, the thumbnail image, a sequence of images for animations, the order of animation frames, animation timing, the alpha channel layer, the depth layer for portrait photos on some devices like Apple, and much more. When the metadata and other information inside the HEIF container that I told you about are combined with different codecs, new formats are created, each with its own name, features, and use, and we'll get to know two of the most important ones. If you have an iPhone, you probably know this format. The HEIC format is actually a file with the HEIF container and the HEVC compression codec, which Apple has been using as the main image format for iPhone cameras since iOS 11. The reason Apple did this is that the HEIC format is more efficient than JPEG, so much so that a HEIC file can be up to 50% smaller in size than a similar JPEG file. Also, HEIC, thanks to the HEIF container, can support color depth up to 64 bits, and transparency as well, whereas JPEG doesn't have an alpha channel at all, and its maximum color depth is 24 bits. This format does not natively support animation, but again, thanks to the HEIF container, which can store a sequence of images inside itself, animation can be added to it as well. Animated HEIC files are often seen with the HEICS format, where the S at the end refers to the sequence of images inside it, as well as the essential information needed to play the animation. AVIF is the second and most widely used format with the HEIF container, which uses the AV1 codec. If you've seen the previous part, you probably remember that in the WebP section I said it has a powerful rival. AVIF is exactly that rival. Compared to WebP, AVIF has a shockingly smaller file size, supports up to 48-bit color depth, can have up to 12-bit transparency levels, and also, like WebP, supports both lossy and lossless compression methods. But in most cases, it performs more efficiently than WebP in both modes, and as a result, the final file is smaller in size. AVIF, exactly like HEIC, can also support animation with the HEIF container and become an AVIF image sequence or an AVIFS file. Compared to HEIC, we can say that these two formats are almost similar and don't have any specific differences in terms of structure and general features, except that one uses the HEVC codec for image compression and the other uses AV1. The HEVC codec is a proprietary and non-free codec, which means any company that wants to use it has to buy the rights from its creators. But on the other hand, AV1 is a completely free codec and anyone can use it. This difference, and of course, AV1's better compression compared to HEVC, has made AVIF more widespread and more popular than HEIC, and why today the HEIC format is mostly seen in Apple products and some other big companies that have bought the rights to use it, while AVIF is seen on almost most websites, and most browsers either fully support it or are looking to start supporting it. Unlike MNG and HEIF, which are containers for other formats, APNG, which is built on the old PNG format, and HEIC and AVIF, which are made from the combination of a container and an image codec. JPEG XL is a new format without a container and completely redesigned from scratch to replace JPEG, but it's completely unrelated to JPEG. JPEG XL or JXL is an advanced format created by the makers of JPEG, Cloudinary Company, and Google. Unlike APNG, which was developed based on the PNG structure, it was designed and developed completely from scratch, and that's why I said it has nothing to do with the JPEG format structurally. Of course, the most amazing feature of JXL is that you can convert JPEG files to JXL. You might say, I can also convert my JPEG file to other formats. What's so amazing about that? Well, the amazing part is that converting JPEG to JXL is done without the slightest loss in quality. When you convert JPEG or any other format to another new format, with each conversion, some of the image information is thrown away, and over time, the image gets lower and lower in quality. But in converting JPEG to JXL, this doesn't happen, and not even a single pixel of the old JPEG file changes, but the final file size becomes 20 to 30% smaller. And the story gets even more amazing when you can convert the JXL file back to JPEG again without any quality loss. I call this a miracle and kiss the hands of the creators of JXL for it. But the features of this amazing format do not end here. It also supports animation just like WebP, AVIF, and HEIC, and the alpha channel like them. Like TIF format, it can have several different pages. Of course, HEIC and AVIF also have this capability. Also, unlike JPEG, it supports both lossy and lossless methods. And overall, I should say that JXL is an all-in-one format that not only has almost all the capabilities of other formats, but also has some special and new features that other formats don't have. But unfortunately, with all those advanced features, we see JXL very rarely in different places today. It's true that Apple supports JXL in the latest versions of iOS and macOS, or Adobe has started supporting it in new versions of Photoshop, but popular browsers still don't officially support this format. I really don't know why and what the reason behind this is, but I do know that if JXL were supported just like formats like WebP and AVIF are, maybe in a few years, instead of using so many different formats, we'd only use one format. SVG is the most popular and most used format on websites and mobile applications. Every icon or logo you see on different websites is very likely an SVG file. But what's the reason for all this popularity? This popularity is due to this format being vector-based. Image formats are divided into two main categories: vector and raster. All the formats you've seen or will see in this video and the previous part, except for SVG, are of the raster type. Raster in simple terms means that the image is made up of thousands of small colored squares or pixels placed next to each other, and by zooming in, you can clearly see each pixel of it. But in vector images, you can't see any pixels by zooming in. This is because in an SVG file, instead of pixels, there are a series of mathematical formulas and geometric commands in the XML language that, when executed, draw the desired image. For example, in most Office programs, like PowerPoint and Word, every shape you draw is a vector image, which by zooming in on them, you can fully understand this. To fully understand this, right now, ask an AI to write the code for a simple SVG image for you. Then take that code, save it inside a text file, change the format of that file to SVG, and by opening that image in a browser of your choice, preferably not Edge, you can see its graphical form. This vector-based nature of SVG means that images are dramatically small in size and without quality loss or pixelation when magnified, which is exactly what makes them an excellent choice for use on websites that need small asset sizes for faster loading. It can also have animation, and you can simply move different elements inside it with various motions using just a few lines of code. Of course, I should also say that SVG is only suitable and practical for logos, icons, and simple graphical shapes and images in general. But if you want to convert a real photo taken with a camera to an SVG, the final file size might increase terrifyingly, because due to the high complexity of these photos, a line of XML code will probably be written for every single one of their pixels. If you've been paying attention, both in the previous part and in this video, I've said several times that image formats compress images. Now the question is, what do uncompressed images look like? And what format do they even have? Well, uncompressed images, or better said, raw images, don't have a single specific format, and depending on the cameras that capture those photos, they can have different formats. For example, one of the raw formats is CR3, which most new Canon cameras use, or for example, another one is the DNG format, which was developed by Adobe, and many cameras and phones have the ability to save photos in this format. Of course, I should also say that raw images are not without compression either, but compared to other formats, the least amount of compression is applied to the captured image, and they often use lossless compression methods. In addition, if I want to mention a few important differences between these formats and the other formats we've reviewed so far, I should say that these formats don't support transparency, they perform the least amount of software processing, like noise reduction and color correction on the camera sensor data, and they usually have a higher color depth. That's why they have a relatively large file size, but for professional photographers and designers, they are the best option for editing, color correction, and other software changes. As I said, there are many raw formats, and besides the general things I mentioned, each one has its own features. If we wanted to talk about all of them in this video, it would turn into a 3 or 4 hour movie. So in the near future, I'll probably make a separate video for these formats.